Hello everyone, as promised, the next episode in the episodes of Mr. Ink and the journey that I'm going on with this car. Now the interior is sorted and we've got most of the front end of the car sorted, rear end, always a problem on a Mark 1, always. Shall we see what it's like in the arches? Well, one of them in the very least in this diary format. Bits of spring, the skin is just peeled off. Here we go. Goodness me. Ho, ho, ho. This is as good as what it gets. Yeah, this is as good as what it gets for any Mark 1. There's just nothing there. At 20 years of age plus. Look, it's even got the hook. These hooks would break off. With all this would just be rotten around here, and this is just surface. I can treat this just in the usual place where it tries to creep along this seam of the boot, like I explained before. It's absolutely nothing. Down here it looks like it's the worst bit, but in fact, if I just get my torch, just show you. There you go. Now it looks like we've got a perforation potentially here. Potentially there. See there? That's the only form of perforation, but I've got to clean this deck and assess what we require for this bit. But down here as well, it tends to go just in this corner down here. But there's minimal around by this area. Train arm bush looks... Actually, you know, that train arm bush doesn't look as bad as what I thought it would. Still perish, but it's all round here as well, where your seatbelt anchorage points that I mentioned in the previous episode, they go through here. And that is where it could rot through on this side here. But this is absolute minimal. The spring is the rustiest thing, and that bottom arm, it needs to be changed. Yeah, that's just going to continue raining, but I'm going to have to just make it look pretty for now because I've got an MOT due imminently. It will be an advisory. Obviously the shock absorber, where is it? Well, obviously on the estate it's in a different place to increase the boot capacity. Not having those strut towers makes a lot of difference to the capacity underneath. The banana arms are also different on the estate. They're a bit more thicker, less like they are banana shaped, but they're more cylindrical, but they're mounted slightly differently. The shock absorber is mounted to part of the body up there, okay, just a little bracket there that it mounts to, okay. That's really that. Subframe looks usual, and it actually looks okay. Just the spring, yeah, it's just nasty. That spring is possibly looking like it could snap at some point. Both of them will have to be changed, so I anticipate doing those jobs this year. Disc, well, got about 2mm of pad, and it's no wonder it makes a sound. These are the originals, 100%. It'll all be changed. New hose, new caliper, discs. The backing plate to the discs actually looks really good. Usually they rot out quite badly, but yeah, it all needs a changing to. And well, I'm going to do it in my usual method. Lots of wire brushing. Excuse me, the dust. I'm going to have to wear a mask. Actually, I would recommend that. Where is my mask? I've got to get in the house. Wear a mask. This is not a nice job, but it's well worth it. So you're going to have to use one of these. Get off. Here we go again. Thoroughly wet and drying off, and my goodness me, it has been a total mess as always, but we've able to clean this side of the rear suspension off, and we've done a lot of wire brushing down with the drill, and it's gone very well. I have put some auto gleam magma actually to wash all the dust off, and just to react with any iron rust particles, to wash everything off. There has been a lot of paint peeling on the rear springs, but that will be changed with the rear arm. The rear arm has actually come up quite nicely, but I am very conscious that this is something that a lot of Mark 1 owners do, and they convince themselves, oh, it's all right now, I've wire brushed it, it looks absolutely fine, I'll give it a bit of a paint and it's absolutely fine. No, because that's weakened, that's lost a bit of metal, and the strain it's under from this spring, with the weight of this estate, I wouldn't trust that whatsoever. So I have already in mind to change this side. If I have to cut that sodding bolt off, I will. I am actually going to get my induction tool out a bit later, and I'm just going to heat all these control bolts here, 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 that one there. I'm going to heat all the ones up to start waking them up, basically. I have a feeling though I'm still going to have to cut the blasted thing off. We're missing bump stops. There is no bump stops. That side hasn't got any bump stops either. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. But it's alright, I'll get some with the new arms when I do that. The train arms are fantastic, and I know that on the market now that you can get brand new aftermarket ones with the train arm bush, very attractive. I don't trust them. I'd rather make this look good, and you can make them look good, just a bit more paint work and that's it, and you're on your way. I wouldn't like the aftermarket ones. Number one, this rear suspension does what it does so magically because of how thin this train arm is. Okay, this is a train arm, it's not a thick arm that most cars have. Okay, it is a thin arm. Why? Because it is designed to flex. Okay, this will flex on cornering to give a bit of give, and it is one of the things that makes a Mark 1 handle the way it does, including why that bush, that train arm bush, is so crucial. So I will say that straight off. I don't ever want to anticipate using an aftermarket one, because even if they've been copied as perfectly as possible, I don't think it will have the characteristics of the originals. So just a top tip on that one. But everything looks quite nice actually. It's a bit scabby on the back side of the subframe, as they always do, but it's been given a good wash down. All the dust has gone ish. The exhaust hanger at the back was a bit funny, but I've cleaned the exhaust up. I'm going to take that exhaust silencer off and clean it up. It is the original complete. Overall, I'm happy with what I've seen, and it's never going to be concourse. This was all about cleaning it back and getting it back to square one, and there's no corrosion whatsoever in this arch. Absolutely nothing. Just about one fixing there, I'll sort that out. But I have gone over with the grinder, as you can see. Now I've gone down here because this is the area. Yes, you can get a hole from that. I have ground that as best as I can, and I'm happy, to be honest, that there's no sign of corrosion on the other side, because that's where the sill meets this panel here. This inner arch is welded to the outer sill with this bit. So when this piece here, and there is no I can't believe how good this is. There's no corrosion in there whatsoever. When this piece separates into two pieces, water gets in and rots the outer sill. That's why they all rot the way they do. It comes from here, okay? Or it could be a hole in here that's forced its way through. Now this metal there was a bit of metal loss here, but I'm not concerned by that. That just needs rust killing. All this just needs I have unfortunately put my angle grinder through this tab that everyone's missing. Stupid boy. But it's all gone really nicely down here. all round here and round the corner here. I'm sorry about the lighting, my torch is all charging. I have washed it down, so we might get a bit of flash rusting, but I'm going to dry this off and put rust killer on the bits that I couldn't get to with the grinder. But honestly, guys, that is it. And I'm pretty sure that most Mark 1 owners would take that any day of the week and make do with a couple of exterior dents, yes, and rather have this the way it is. I've never encountered a Mark 1 this good. At 20 years of age, I will tell you now, this is as good as it gets. I think that if there was anything better, it has to have been garaged for its entire life. And that's the end of that. So, I am going to do some rust killing with some Granville rust converter, zinc primer in all the bare metal areas. I'll cover up, and I've got to dry it off first anyway. Could take a while today with the weather the way it is. And I will go over with some ink blue to go over the top, and then we might be in a position for Dynax. By the way, this is about sorting the bodywork out, not sorting the suspension out, even though I've gone over the subframe and I've just got it back to sort of square one, to a point where I'm happy, and I'll be repeating it on the other side, and that'll be part of this video. Anyway, I must get on and do my rust killing. Right. Next day in the proceedings, the other side. Now, this side has been thoroughly de-rusted, and we're getting some blue paint down there now. As I say, this has all been ground back, all this bit here, and you never know. And I've ended up colouring a lot of other things in blue, but eventually some of this that I just stuck some zinc primer in places where bare metal or rust was exposed, and I've also painted further down there towards the back chassis leg. The exhaust is having a bit of a paint up as well. I've done some de-rusting there. More importantly, this bottom arm actually looks absolutely fantastic. Not as if I'm deceiving myself, absolutely not. I've done 50% of this side, and I've gone over the back axle. I've just taken the chrome exhaust finisher off just to give the exhaust a bit of a clean up. It's come up really, really nicely actually. But I'll just ignore my paraphernalia over there. We'll go to the other side where all the action has been today. It gets dusty. This is the messiest part of Mark 1 ownership, and it's not something that I enjoy, but it's something I anticipated. So first of all, we have taken the bolt for this filler pipe bracket, and I've had a look at this filler pipe, and the only bit of surface corrosion is here, and I can't believe it. I'm just going to get my torch in. That is my pipe. That is the worst bit. The clamp is the worst bit. The clamp's awful. They always go like that. The side of the boot is also, the side of the spare wheel well is seemingly gone a little bit funny as well, but it's just surface on the back beam. We have a big strong beam on the Estates, which is your crash bar. Some scabbiness there, but it's okay. Again, the spring is rather rusty, but this arm has been changed, and it's been changed for an FAO 5019. I've tried to cross-reference that, and I thought it was an FAI arm, but no, it was changed 4 years ago because it failed the MOT on severely weakened corrosion. I'm so surprised that other one hasn't. To be fair, I don't think that other one is anywhere near. This was 4 years ago that was changed, which is remarkable. I wonder how bad this arm was for that to be better and this to be worse. It's usually the near side that goes in the UK. And obviously the offside in Europe because it's near the curb where the puddles are. I don't think this side is any worse. It's exactly the same. I've just ground it all back in the usual spot. Got some little, I think that was me with the grinder cutting back. Ah, yes, it was. It was me with the grinder on that little beast there. But literally, we haven't lost anything. This corner, you've got to be careful of this corner. Now, this is a little bit more than the other side, but not too much more. You've got to make sure there's no holes here, because
as much as these two pieces can split apart and let water in, the other way is water and mud sits here, which they do. You have to check this area regularly, and it will just eat, and there'll be a pinhole. 50 Shades had a pinhole right here, and it's usual for owners to have their cars welded by cutting this piece off and putting a new piece here and then a new piece on the bottom side, but it has to be done really neatly, otherwise it looks stupid. So I've got rusty dust everywhere here, iron oxide. Now, this is the most obvious area. The area that's sneaky is round here. So I'm just going to bring that in. Now, I've got the ABS connector here, so I can't do as full a job as I want, but that's okay, because that's usually where I jack up anyway. That's fine as well. But where the train arm bush sits up here, you've got these areas here. Now these areas, these are the 2 seatbelt bolts that I would have taken out not long ago for the interior. But where it rots here, okay, people don't check the other side, right? Please make sure you've checked the other side. But these areas are quite tricky to get into with a drill, okay? I've tried my best, and you just have to make the best job of it as you can. You can't get rid of all the rust around here because it's such a horrible space with all these little shapes that have been welded in. It can get really messy down here. This whole thing could rot out easily. So, yeah. Oh, we do have a hole though. I did find a hole. The little tag has got a little hole in it. To be fair, if I bend that, that's probably going to snap off. That's why a lot of them don't survive. I've never known, 50 Shades never had hers. I've never seen these tags on a Mark 1 this age for many, many, many years. Well, ever, I should say. Disc brake heat shield, okay, they can get a bit scabby sometimes, but overall I'm quite impressed actually. I mean, we tried to go over the rear beam as much as possible, and I mean, look at the pipes. I've even got the stickers there on the pipes. That's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's quite rusty on the subframe, as they usually are. They're just made of it. They're not inferior, but by this age, you've got to expect scabbiness. I'm hoping that in the long term, I won't need to drop this subframe, because I've done that before to clean up a subframe. But I think what would be best for a lot of Mark 1 DIYers is, if you want to have a go yourself, I mean, you need to get one of these little small... You need that. You need this, which is, I can't remember what sort of one that is, but these are steel wire, okay? Piano wire. And you need a thin one, because that thin one gets into there that I've just shown you, okay? You can't get that with that one. A manual one, and my small one is in the bin because the small one's disintegrated. There's also a lot of mud build-up inside the subframe. There is tons of mud. I'm going to have to wash all this out now. This is going to be the messy side of things, but there you go. There's my little update here. But for the argument's sake, I think in the future I will be changing the train arm bush in situ alongside the banana arm, the lower radius arm here. Okay, I haven't done too much to that actually. I think I need to clean that up a bit more. Just for now, just to make it look nice. Obviously all the brakes are going to be sorted. This is all going to come off. That's going to come off. The hard line, I've got to be honest, I'm impressed. I'm actually quite impressed by the condition of the hard line. I really am. If that's an indicator of what the line... I have had a sneaky look, because we know that the lines can rot out above the tank. I don't believe that this car suffers from that problem yet. So I'm going to have to monitor that. But I think that'll be a job when well, it has had a replacement fuel pump, this car, but I don't know how good it is for 45 quid. So I'm not going to rely on it, but it'll get me down the line for a few years. Tank straps are rubbish, but the tank straps will be done with a fuel pump, and I'll probably do the lines at the same time all the way to this union here. It just makes sense. But that's long in the future. What will happen in the next 12 months is that arm over that side that I've painted up just to temporarily sort of make nice, and I've got an MOT next week. It's got to look nice, otherwise it will fail. And I don't necessarily want to be replacing it next week, put it that way. But otherwise, you know, just discs, calipers, hose, bits and pieces. Shock absorbers look actually quite all right. You got the mounting bolt is over this side. Can you just see? There we go. There's your mounting bolt. Right there. That'll be an interesting place to get my impact gun. I'll probably have to use the breaker bar for that. But overall, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things are and how things are looking. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'll cut back when the job is done. Right, about 6-7 hours later, this side is blotchy. It's got to be done a bit more, but I've put some stone chip over, well, stone chip and some gloss black, which has come up really, really well. And I've, yes, done the usual exhaust VHT silver on the good old bat box. Oh God, that's a long pipe, that is. I wonder why that. I wonder if that's why it sounds more warbly than most Mark 1s I've heard, because of the length. But we've done this side. You know, at the end of the day, it's not concourse, but the idea is that we establish what the condition is of the body, and we get rid of lots of flaky rust, and get to know the car. This is, it's not just improving the car, it's getting to know the car. So I've discovered a couple of bits missing, namely, why are we missing a bump stop? Yeah, there's a hole that there's supposed to be a stump on this side. Not quite sure why. That bottom spring is quite flaky and rusty in there. Unfortunately, it's like a miniature swimming pool in there. It just sits in dirty water and rots out. It's quite typical. But this wishbone arm actually looks quite decent. You can actually make it look really, really good. And I'm not being funny. If I was an MOT tester, I would detect some flaky springiness and suspicious paintwork, but I'd only advise at the best. So you can actually disguise quite a bad, well, I'd say this wasn't bad. I'd say it's getting on for needing a replacement, and ideally I don't want to be driving on that, and you shouldn't either. I have cleaned up the boot floor. It does seem to get awfully sort of corroded around the boot well, but this one is so tidy. There's just nothing. I'll just bring you over here. The filler pipe is, well, this side of the car is being rust killed at the moment. That side's been painted. That side hasn't. But we've got nothing around the boot well. There's a lot more space as well on the estate. I've found that on the hatchbacks, the space between the back of the fuel tank and where the subframe sits, there's a lot more space between the two. There is more of a gap, by the way. This is a lot closer in, believe it or not. On the hatchbacks, the subframe sits closer to the tank. That makes it difficult to clean in situ, I guarantee. But it's all starting to sort of turn greeny and black. It will turn black where the rust is really bad, and it's going a bit brown here, which means it's fine. It's kind of over treatable. But look how clean the pipes are. That's ridiculous, and I've doused that clamping rust killer because I'm going to spray that up if I can, but I'd rather not spray the pipes up because there's just absolutely nothing in there. And it's also, from what I've seen as well, there's more space to twist the filler pipe and bring it through this arch, whereas on hatchback models you're going to have to drop the subframe. It's just very, very hard. But on this side, absolutely nothing, as usual. Absolutely nothing down there. Again, on the other side, you know, it's all been treated, but there does seem to be a bit more space for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but that's the way it is. Those tank straps look awful, but I'm not really wanting to deal with them. The point is we deal with the bodywork and find out how good we are. Well, as far as I'm concerned, no rusty filler pipes, no holes. This is the most unmarked one of cars I've ever bought. I've never known one to be this solid, and it's a great basis for replacing these bits and pieces. Over the next sort of 12 months, I will change springs. I mean, even though this arm is a good arm, I might just change it. We're missing the bump stop on this side. Now this side has got the stump for it, which the other side is missing. I don't know how that's happened. Ooh, that's a rusty rear spring. I'm going to have to put some rust kill on that. I didn't notice that actually. The rubber hose from the filler pipe, that main rubber hose, which is about 40 quid from Ford. You can only get them from Ford at the moment. This one, I was literally thinking, it looks brand new. I'm not joking. It looks like it's been changed because it looks so rubbery and it's not gone hard or cracked. But the Jubilee clamps that are holding it on look a bit old. So that makes me think, no, it is the original. It's very well preserved. So there's no concerns there at all. I'm really pleased. I can't wait to get some of this off in the future, but some of you might be asking me what I am going to do with the, well, now that's all drying off, and I'll show you the end results in another day. What am I doing with the arch liners? Well, my original plan was to replace the arch liners with plastic ones, the ones on 50 Shades. That's because I removed the ones on 50 Shades many years ago, and I cut off some of the mountings because I never intended to ever fit those horrible carpet liners again, and they really are responsible for quite a few Mark 1s going down the hill. But with this car, I'm really puzzled because there's hardly any corrosion at all. It's just surfaced and maybe some flakes here and there in the usual places. I've never known a car like it. It's either this car has been garaged a lot, driven on long journeys, so there's lots of breeze coming through the car. That's important. The car's got hot and things have not sort of soaked up. It might well be. But it might also be this was just very well galvanised on the factory, and later Mark 1s generally have that reputation of being a little bit better in the bodywork department than their older brethren, which means that the arch liners are less of an issue. So I tell you what I'm doing. I'm cleaning them off, drying them off, and I'm putting them back on. I want to see whether these arch liners prove to be a problem now at 20 years of age. I mean, they haven't caused barely any damage after 20 years. The arch lips are absolutely fine. So it kind of proves if they got the bodywork galvanised and it was electrically dipped from the factory. If they did that process properly on the earlier cars, especially 50 Shades, I might be driving with plastic, with the original carpet liners as it is. So that's fine. That's quite interesting. So on the basis of it's done 20 years and caused barely any damage, I'm going to put them back on. And I think that's a fair judgment on that one. And we'll just see how it goes. If I'm not happy with them, we'll do the plastic conversion. Simple as that. Anyway, these are going to be dried and put back on when I've just given them a bit of a clean. They'll get dirty again, but the point is you want to clean the back side of them, like the plastic liners, okay? You want to clean the back side because loads of spiders. There was a ton of spiders under that, well, dead spiders, and that makes me think, God, this car's had a bit of a dry life, hasn't it? Makes me feel guilty about owning it because I am going to be using it in bad weather, but hopefully as minimal salt driving as possible within Birmingham. Anyway, next one. Right. Day 3. No, 4, 5. Yeah, day 3. Dynax. This is the next thing. Now, I used one can on the front section of this car. And I said, well, I need another can. Well, one to do the doors, which I've done.
just a bit of cavity wax at the bottom of all the doors. I've flushed all the doors out just in the last previous days. That didn't take long at all. And for the rear end of the car, I forget how much of an extra bit that I'm not used to on these cars. But as you can see, I have put a lot of Dynax down here. I've also put Dynax in this arch lip, okay, on the pinch weld. The pinch weld goes like at an angle upwards, okay, so you're gonna have to get wax, put some on your finger and just smear it in. It doesn't matter, as long as a smear of wax in there. Lots of wax down in this area down here. I've gone really thick down here, and here I've gone really thick where the areas are where they tend to go. But I'm looking how neat that is. That's really, really good. And the idea is that we're protecting the bodywork, okay? I am not spraying Dynax over anything other than the bodywork and possibly bits of the subframe, but apart from that, nothing is getting coated, okay? I'm not coating all this because all this will be coming out at some point. The only thing that I'll want to keep is the actual train arm press itself. The bush will be changed, that will be changed, the shocker will be changed, this radius arm will be changed, spring arm will be changed. There's going to be nothing that will be remaining on this suspension in the long run. And the next job I've got to do is, that's just, well, we'll just make do with about what looks like 2.5 millimeters of pad, judging by that. So that will definitely be an advisory during the MOT, but it won't be a fail because it's not 1.5 millimeters. But if we go to the back here, I've just sprayed Dynax all over the back cross member, okay, at the back of the spare wheel well, which is huge on these. So I've sprayed up to there, and then we've gone over a little bit of the subframe, top end of the subframe, okay, that's it. Now I haven't done that side yet because I've got to wait for this to go off. I've got about half an hour or so, but I've managed to sort of plug that down there with lots of zinc primer, and I'm going to do a little bit of light spraying around the filler pipe because we've sprayed the bracket up. It's all been rust killed. We've got some rust killer left over. It leaves a green sediment sort of, but overall it's looking very, very good. I'll put some more at the back here. There was some rust just around the cross beam, just at the back here around where the well is, but I've managed to go over and kill that. It's a really solid structure of a car, this is. I can see, honestly, I've never known one to be this good, and let's keep it good. This is what I said this in the first episode of work on this car. You know, it's all good looking at bits like this and thinking there's nothing wrong with this car, let's just leave it as it is and just sit back and watch some films in your house, and 6 months later then you've got holes. This is the time to do this, when it's looking good, not when it's not looking good. I find that generally car enthusiasts are very reactionary people. They react to things as opposed to being proactive with their cars, and then they wonder why they've got huge bills. Not everybody can do this. It depends on your circumstances, but if you can, please do it, because it will save you a lot of money in the long run. I don't want to be employing my welder to do every Tom, Dick and Harry job. I think he's going to have his work cut out with the the exterior of this car. So I've noticed another one. I mean, that's so annoying, that is. It's just a little pinhole there. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There is no holes on this car. I found no structural holes at all. I was waiting to find my first little pinhole, like maybe somewhere down here or here. No, I mean, to be honest, even if I found a hole, I'd probably put a little bit of fiberglass in. It depends how big it is. If it's a hole like that size, I'd probably just put a blob of fiberglass on it. I wouldn't even bother welding it unless it spreads and there was more rotten metal, and then we got a bit of a square going on, and that I'll get my welder out for that and patch it up. But anything that size, you know, that's what they invented fiberglass for, a bit of filler. As long as this is important, if you get a hole that size, let's say there was a hole down here as usual, you have to grind all the way around the hole to find the clean metal. You have to, look, you have to get your screwdriver out. You have to find out how big it is. There's no point just being afraid to make it bigger. You've got to make it bigger because you need to know, okay? And there's no point lying to yourself and convincing yourself, oh, it's a tiny hole. You haven't jabbed it. You've got to find out how strong it is. And if it's strong and the hole remains that size and the metal around it is relatively clean, fantastic. All you need to do is a bit of rust converter, a blob of filler, and then zinc primer, and then paint over the top. Stone chip, gloss black, Dynax. And then you monitor that from going forwards, okay, to see if it deteriorates. If it deteriorates after all of that, then it needs cutting out. But I doubt it would deteriorate very quickly after doing that process. And that's the process I've done to every car I've ever owned, and it's always Dynax. I've got a feeling about Lanagard, and this is the suspicious thing. I know we've used it on Nick's George. Lanagard is a very heavily advertised product, and I am suspicious of advertised products, heavily stuff. It's much more cheaper than Built Amber, but it needs topping up every year. I think in years to come, people are going to look back at Lanagard and think, I don't think it was all that was made up to be, basically. It needs a lot of coating. I think it does have some benefits. It's going to, because it's sheep dip. It's the same technique as people spreading grease or oil on their cars, painting oil on their chassis back in the day to preserve a classic, and most of them survived because someone bothered to actually get mucky and greasy under the car. But and wax oil, which is disgusting. These are disgusting things, whereas Lanagard is a little bit more environmentally friendly. This is even more so, and you can, if you overspray this on paint, you could just get some white spirits. Say I just oversprayed it on the paint, just get some white spirits and spray it off, or thinners. It doesn't matter. Oh, actually not thinners, because you take the paint off. Panel wipe is the ideal one, and it will just take this off completely. And it's always the one I use, the UC, because I'm not covering it in black. I want lots of paintwork to be exposed, and that's it. These wheels are disgusting. I'm just going to talk about these. So I haven't covered this topic before. I'll just go over it. So at the front we have Falcon ZX tyres. They are excellent tyres, and my goodness me, you need excellent tyres with the torque that's going through them front wheels. If I stamp on the gas at a junction, it will wheel spin and the traction control will kick in. It's very easy to achieve, even with these tyres. They're good tyres. They're all the tyres on this car are 6 years old. This car, through its MOT history, has gone through so many tyres, it's untrue. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way people used to drive them. But then again, it did motorway miles. It could have been poor tyres for all I know. But these are 6-year-old tyres, and none of them are cracked. None of them have got any cracking. Even these, I'm afraid, runway, yeah, I think that's a Chinese joke for run away into a ditch, or the nearest hedge, ideally. Yeah, I don't really want to know what type it is. I've had to depressurise these because they were at 40 psi, and I've had to reduce them to 32. That is the normal weight for Mark 1 tyres, whatever car it is. 32, petrol or diesel, please. Obviously it depends. If you've got fully laden, then you might need to pump it up, but I think it's 34, something like that. But normal driving, 1 or 2 passengers, 32 please. But these alloys are knackered. I am not even bothering to sort these out. So these are going to be wheel refurbished towards the end of this year. It's not a priority. Got to do the brakes first and sort the actual running gear out before the beautifications set in. But these will be done. Might try and get some more centre caps as well, but these are actually, they look in good condition. I'm also after some new wheel nuts because someone's put these
they're horrible things. These stainless, they're horrible. As soon as a socket breaches the coating on the outside, they start rusting. I want some genuine Ford ones, but I need the ones with the stainless steel covers, because you can see the nuts. There's no centre cover here to cover them up, so I need to find some. But these tyres are all 6 years old, no cracking, no bulges, nothing. I've inspected them myself, and they're very safe tyres, which is remarkable. I mean, these runway tyres are absolutely budget ditch finders, but best places to put them at the back. So these tyres will be good for hopefully for the next 2 years. I'm going to give these tyres 2 years, and in that space of time, I will have conducted probably springs, shockers, wishbones at the front, and all the arms at the back. Now, changing the arms will change the wheel alignment, it will change the camber, and it may make your tracking go off, okay? Probably will do. But it doesn't matter if I change the suspension and I'm still running on these tyres with a slight wheel alignment that's off, because I don't care about these tyres, because they'll be about 7-8 years old by the time that this is all done, right? That'll be the time to change these tyres, okay? Knackered old tyres, probably worn on the inside because I ain't got the wheel alignment done, and then they'll be changed for new ones. Wheel alignment, great. That's the way you do it. Otherwise, you don't have to keep going back to the wheel alignment place every time you change your suspension cross member. So I generally change all my suspension components within a period of about 12 to 18 months. In that period, the tyres will get worn, your steering might be off because you've changed the dynamics of the steering geometry, but that doesn't matter, as long as you've got a plan. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there, but I didn't cover this. It is 195 60/15s, by the way, the correct size for this car. You can go 205, but not doing that because this is a more obtainable tyre. Anyway, I'm going to leave you be. I've got to finish my job, but as you can see, the process that I'm working with, and it's just a bit more of a bloggy update. But anyway, you take care, guys. I shall see you in another episode.